Welcome to my coverage of the Battle of the Bridge, Auckland versus North Harbour in the Mitre 10 Cup. First up, you'll have my post-game review of the report, as Auckland went on to win and top the Premiership table. Then we will hear from Tom Coventry, the head coach of North Harbour, and then before we hear from the Auckland side of things. So stick around all the way to the end for my personal interviews. Sorry that the second interview does cut off. Unfortunately, I ran out of memory on my iPhone. So enjoy the coverage, and don't forget, subscribe down below for more coverage of the Mitre 10 Cup. Hello and welcome to full-time report from Eden Park of Auckland versus North Harbour in Battle of the Bridge, and the score finished 45-29. So Auckland therefore finished top of the Premiership and will get obviously that home semi-final against Wellington, and if they win that game they'll then have a home final against either Tasman or Canterbury. is how the finals have panned out. Basically, the way this game panned out was that in the first 10 minutes or so, Harbour had the upper hand, but it took themselves a long time to score. They really needed those points when they could get them. Gatland's kicking in that first half didn't help them, hitting the post 3 times. But after that first 10 minutes, Auckland came into it, managed to get some territory and some points using their line out and their scrum. Then to have they did give up a try just before half time, so it was 19-15 at half time, so still a 1 score game. But then Auckland came out in that second half and really took the game by the scruff of the neck in that first 10 minutes, scoring 3 tries the first 20 minutes, scoring 3 tries in that quarter, and really dominating, using the scrum as a platform and also the line out as a platform but predominantly the scrum, with Ieremia picking off the back of that scrum and then feeding off to other players, which was how they did it. Gatland had a bit of a mixed day. He had a bit of a poor day with the boot, really. And I say he hit the post 3 times. Also, a couple of these kicks went out on the full. With the wind at their back in that second half, Auckland really were able just to pin Harbour back and say, look, run the full length of the pitch to beat us if you're going to. And far too many errors by Harbour, knock-ons, etc., giving up those scrums and turning the ball over at rucker time when they weren't able to do so. Playing into the wind, they were never able to kick for territory in that second half. And they did get a consolation try. They managed to, when there was a yellow card for a bit of cynical action in the Auckland 22, but by then it was only 10 minutes left, and the game was already well won. So they pull it back to 40-22 with 10 minutes to go, and with the man off the bench, there may have been a feeling of, hey, could there be some sort of comeback? But hi Jay from Pittsburgh, but that was never to be. Auckland then went in with 14 men camped in the Harbour 22 and managed to score a try out wide on their winger diving over. Auckland showed a lot of grit in this game. Defensively, they held out Harbour for when they needed to, and then managed to execute and get their tries when they had their opportunities. Sure, the Harbour managed to bash over just before the hooter for another consolation try, but I mean 45-29. The players both all kept on playing, which I don't get, because I think the Auckland players had nothing to win, only injuries to gain. To me, they should just let them go. Let Harbour just score a try, because hey, the final's tied up. The game was already won. They'd got the Bridge Trophy, and congratulations to Auckland on a fantastic season. Just 1 loss to Otago here in Eden Park. Otherwise, 9 wins, topping the Premiership table, and looking forward to the finals. How this will impact Super Rugby, we'll have to talk. Well, Super Rugby is not until next year. We'll get on to that at a future date. For now, let's enjoy the win, and I'll hopefully have a chat with some of the coaches and players coming up.
First of all, I thought Auckland were good today. I thought they were physical at stages and were able to bully us at various times of the game. I thought we probably had opportunities that we didn't take so well, and the momentum changed quite quickly just after half time. Our season in a whole, probably where we're at the moment is probably reflected by the fact that we couldn't beat the 4 top teams. So what are we, 5th in the competition? Probably sort of sums up where we're at the moment. We are unable to take the big moments in various stages during the course of the season against the top 4 teams. But it's not, for Harbour, we've consolidated in the competition. I think we've gained a bit of respect, which is what we were about right when I started with the team, and that's one of the goals that they put forward was to gain respect in the Premiership, to prove to the New Zealand public that they just weren't going to be up and down, which has happened to a few teams over the last few years. So we've consolidated our position, but we need to be better, and our learnings from this year's competition will hopefully help these young boys move forward, and hopefully we can consolidate on our position and look to make a top 4 next year.
How do you take that next? Well, obviously you've got to do it. How does the union take that next step?
Continue to grow what we are growing. I mean, we've had a change of philosophy around how our wider training group and our academy or our pathways program operates now. Our under 19 program is what they finished 3rd in the last 2 seasons, which is a good sign. We're now starting to produce players that can come out of our club rugby straight into the Mitre 10 Cup. Danny Drake, Lee, for example, 2 boys are out there today. So they've come through our program, through our pathways program, and into the Mitre 10 Cup. We've probably been guilty over the last few seasons of having to recruit from elsewhere. We've had some good recruits, but they don't always stay and hang around and be part of the fabric of the province. Even though we appreciate the efforts that they put in, we're trying to grow our own, and let the public, I suppose, see that we're trying to get guys like Dylan back, Chris Eves back, Shooter back. They all come back to the province where they grew up and played their junior rugby, went to school here. That's another one of our philosophies around trying to grow the region, growing our players, growing our people. So I think we've done that, and I think we need to continue to make sure that we invest in the depth of our club rugby and also the young boys coming out of our schools.
Do you think it shows a sign, I guess, that you couldn't make the semis this year, but that's almost a disappointment compared to where the team was maybe a couple of years ago, that not making the semi-finals of the top tiers, disappointment where you used to be, I suppose?
Yeah, look, I was just talking to Dave Ward before. He says, a few years ago you probably would have been happy just to consolidate and stay in the competition. So now we're disappointed about not making a semi-final, which is a sign that we're growing. We're not consistent enough to be there this year, but that's our challenge for the next couple of seasons, is to make sure that the group of guys that stay, the core of our team, will be together. There will be some movement. I think in Mitre 10 Cup, for Harbour's perspective anyway, we lose about 30% of our men every year to greener pastures, or to injury or to retirement. But that's our job, is to make sure that we keep replenishing the retirement or the movement with good players coming out of our program.
Would you like to see Dylan named in the All Blacks squad tomorrow?
Yeah, I would like to see Dylan named. I think he's a worthy candidate. I thought that he's been a consistent performer this year for us. I think he's been rewarded with the Dwayne Monkley points over the last, I don't know if he would have got those points today, but over the last 3 big performances that he's played for us, he's been picking up points. So I think people see his worth. He's a tireless worker. He's good over the ball. He's a good defender, and his work rate and his ethic, I think, suits what the All Blacks are after. And saying that, I thought Dalton was good today as well in the opposition, as a young boy coming through the scenes. So there's, as usual in New Zealand, we tend to grow year 7s quite quickly, and we've got some good choices. I think the All Blacks, they've got some hard decisions to make around who they put into that team.
How long until you switch focus into Blues, or have you already sort of started that?
Well, the next couple of weeks are pretty telling. Most squads are probably already filled. The Blues, there wasn't a lot of movement from this year to the next season. A lot of the contracting was already done. So there's a few holes which we'll be trying to fill. Semi-finals and finals is always a good time to do that. But Super Rugby franchises are pretty aggressive now. They usually make those decisions well before this time of the season. But we've still got a couple of spots available, so we'll be looking to fill those over the next couple of weeks.
Anyone anyone from your Harbour squad you'd like to bring across the
Look,
way?
when you coach a provincial union, you become a little bit biased, and that's part of the nature of the job. You know, you form strong relationships with these guys. You spend a lot of time with them. Look, most of my boys have, I'd like to pick them all, but it's my job now to put on another cap and to make sure I'm critically analysing everyone and making sure that I'm just as tough on my boys as anyone else that we put into that team. So yeah, look, I'd pick all those boys if I could, but obviously that's not going to be able to happen. There's been some really good standout players in our group, and I think some of them have big futures. I mentioned Lua Lee today. Lua Lee's been a policeman, and Lua played most of the game at Loosehead Prop. He started almost all of our games at Loosehead this year. For a policeman to do that and play against Super Rugby props, it's a pretty fair effort. Danny Drake came on today at block for Ben Nene, who's been involved with the Blues off and on during the course of the year. And Danny's a student. He's played all his club rugby for Northcote. Today he gets to, in a half a footy, he gets to rub shoulders with some guys who have been playing super footy for a long time. So those guys are coming through our program and they're getting opportunities to play. So they make you proud when you see those guys being able to handle themselves at that level. Not quite good enough yet, but they will be in time.
So do they take inspiration from someone like Carl, who's come through from club rugby to Super Rugby contract?
Yeah, look, Carl's a great story, and he's been fantastic for our region. It was only 12 months ago he was rolling around with our physio doing exercises which would keep him off his feet because he was coming back from a plate in his leg, and Matt Wenham, our physio, had him doing bear crawls and spider crawls, anything to do with him and not having to be on his feet. And Carl went through our Pathways program. So he didn't play much for Takapuna initially. He did most of his work through some of the games that we'd organised with the boys playing in the Harbour jersey. And he eventually got to play 3 or 4 games towards the end of that club season. He got himself back on the field for Mitre 10 Cup, and he was a force scrummaging during that last season. And he's a pin-up boy for us all. Hard work gets you to the top. Such a modest and humble bloke, and it's just great to see people like him go through a pathway which is necessary and not traditional. No academies, no pathways programs, just hard work, and I think that's testament to him, but also the hard work that's gone on with around the people who have been helping, physios, club coaches, our environment, our own coaching staff put a lot of work into him to help him get to where he's got to. Yeah, we use him as one of our poster boys.
You touched briefly on Dalton. Are you able to elaborate a bit more on what you see in him, and obviously you'll be working a bit closer with him next year? Yeah,
look, I think Dalton's first and foremost he was in the thick of it today. He's good in the close quarter play. I think close to the goal line he's one of the better defenders. Gets himself down nice and low, comes forward off the line well. He's pretty accurate with his defensive work. Gets back to his feet quickly. He's back in the game a lot, and he complements a lot of the line breaks that are made. He's often on the shoulder, and he's smirking around the support play. So I think he's a big prospect, and he's a good size. He's physical. He's good. He's got line-out ability as well. So he ticks a lot of boxes.
Do you see him as a 6 or a 7?
Oh, look, I think he's been playing it where he's playing at the moment. It suits him. I think for any loose forward, being able to play in more than one position does help. Particularly when you've got long seasons and there's attrition. So at the moment, I think he's playing in that position. He's holding down well. The good thing about Dalton is he can play 6, 7 and 8. But I think he did a pretty good job today.
Cool. With your Blues hat on, contracting wise for the super squads, do you think there is enough scope for outstanding players in the Mitre 10 season to get a super place? I'm thinking like guys like Robbie Abel who sort of come from nowhere.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Is there enough scope though? Is there enough room in the super squads at the moment for form players and emerging players to come through?
Yeah, I suppose it's not common now for the squads to have a lot of movement, but you remember the All Blacks have got a Northern Hemisphere tour. They play a game in Japan on the way north, and then they play 3 tests, and then they come back and have 12 weeks off. Yeah. So that's the opportunity for guys to come on interim training contracts and make up the numbers. Carl did that with the Chiefs, as you remember. and they get their opportunities probably through that pathway more than a direct invitation to pick up a contract. There'll be a few of those. Each franchise will pick a couple, but the interim training contracts, you've got to be fit and ready to go at the end of November, and you'll roll through 4 or 5 weeks of pre-season before Christmas, and then obviously the pre-season starts pretty early in January. First week of January they're off again. So those players that you mentioned, the Mitre 10 Cup players, they'll be expected to come in and fill those holes and get opportunities to play. I'm not too sure they're running the Duco teams next year. I'm not sure. No, I don't think it's happening. So they'll be involved in some of the pre-season football, and that's how I think we rely on building our depth, obviously through injury over the course of the season. We get to see guys play for the Blues development, which I was part of this year, the Blues 20s program, making sure that anybody that's played good Mitre 10 Cup gets rewarded with opportunities to be in those teams. Because it's a long haul from now until club rugby starts again in April for some of these guys. So, unfortunately, the high performance program begins in November and it finishes at the end of Super Rugby, and guys who've had long seasons with club and Mitre 10 Cup, they don't get much of a rest, so they have to go around again really. We rely on our system popping players out, so yeah, it'll be no different for this season, considering there's 20 weeks on the trot. So some of those guys I'm sure will get to play and will probably feature early doors. Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks, Tom. Finish at the top of the premiership table at the end of the regular season?
Yeah, it is. I think we control our own destiny really after the events of counties in Canterbury, and so we just made sure that we got the job done. So I'm very proud of the boys, and obviously the result looked after itself.
And now it's Wellington again up here this time.
Yeah, up here, yeah, and we'll start focusing on them tomorrow. But I think it's quite an achievement for this particular group. Obviously, a lot of new faces, a lot of new dynamics involved, and I think we'll celebrate that and make sure that we get rounded very quickly for tomorrow. But it's a great occasion for a lot of these players, especially for a young squad.
Given the events of 12 months ago, I know you weren't there, but in terms of the thrashing that they got dished out, how big is it to come back and win a game like this?
Yeah, I think winning was really important, and we knew that Harbour were going to come. I don't have a history around the Battle of the Bridge, and we approached it that way in terms of respecting the tradition and the history of it, but making sure that we fix it and do what we need to do to get the result, and especially for the bigger picture. And also, this team prides itself on our performances, and the last time we were at Eden Park we lost. And I think it was very important that we regained the faith of the people and our Auckland supporters. So I think that was most important as well.
Do you put a lot of stock on finishing top of the table?
Do I put a stock?
Does it have a lot of meaning for you that to finish?
Oh, it is for me personally. It's a new job for me, and a new group of players, a new group of to achieve top of the table. The next 2 weeks or the next 1 week, whatever it is, will look after itself. But to get to the top of the table, and something I'm very proud of this group. Not only the players, the management, but there's a lot of stakeholders and people that have helped me forge this team and put it together. And most importantly, I'm very proud of the leaders that have made this team the culture that it is. And what you saw today is a reflection of what we do behind the scenes. So I'm very proud of the team.
Anything that from today that you think you've thought out or fixed up?
I've got enough coaches. I think they can look after the rest of the games. My job was just to get us to the top of the table, but we'll have a look at it tomorrow. I'm just going to really enjoy this moment. It's a feat that's very difficult, I suppose, with the type of campaign that Mitre 10 is. Short turnarounds, injuries, the depth, you're challenged, and I'm just very proud of these players. And I think it's best you hear from the players. I think they're the ones that have to do it, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and they're at the forefront of the performances every week.
You weathered a storm early on. You then sort of came back into it, but you let them get a try. Not let them, but they came back just before half time. What was the message at half time? Because you guys came out and really took the game by the scruff of its neck then.
Dalton can explain.
Oh no, I think we just came in and I think we have the right balance of leaders and soldiers in the team. I think that was our downfall last year. You know, everyone had a voice and got a confusion in the team. But there were clear messages at halftime. We knew to calm down, stay in the blue, and go out there and execute. Yeah.
Alama, is there anyone you're expecting to lose when the All Blacks name their squad tomorrow for the next couple of weeks?
Let's just say I can't answer that for now, but yeah, that's an awkward question, so I won't even try and answer that right now.
I don't want you to spill the details, but how, I mean, in terms of coming now into playoffs and potentially losing players, how do you reset your campaign for the semi-finals and finals with those, whoever they might be?
Yeah, and it's unfamiliar territory, I suppose, for me as a leader because of this team. You know, we haven't obviously played finals before, and I'll draw on the experience of some players and obviously some coaches that I've got in place that how we prepare this week. I suppose it's the old cliche, it's another game, but I think for me personally it's really getting a gauge of the players' physical and mental welfare now. As you see, we try to make changes as early as possible in the second half, but still you're still trying to win the game properly and have pride in our performances. So we'll assess all those situations, you know, All Blacks, potential All Blacks, injuries, and then also physical and mental fatigue. So I'll answer that properly.
You've invested a lot of time and faith in Harry Plummer this year, and he seems to be sort of stepping up as the season's finished. He was very good today. What were your thoughts?
Yes. Fortunately, I have a bit of experience of developing young first fives and young players. I've done it all my whole career, and I think Plummer is another player that needed a lot of, well, not a lot, but needed some experience around him to help decision making, to make sure that he's not burdened with everything, and to make sure that there's a game plan and a game that actually fits his style. And that's why I'm very proud of him. You know, it's one thing to support a player, but it's another thing for them to do the homework and to do, you know, the leadership that's required to guide this team around. So he's been supported by some very good leaders, including the guy sitting next to me, because defensively, Plum has to make sure that he's got faith in, and obviously this fella next to me. So very proud of him, and also very proud of the players that have supported his success this year.
Obviously, the young man on your left had a pretty big shift. So, do you have any thoughts on Dalton's performance this Savo?
He might go weird, eh? I've got a lot to say about Dalton. I won't mind saying it with the media here. There's a lot of talk around sevens in the country, and when you look at his stats, you know, I've never seen a seven that tackles the way he does, and you know, 22 tackles, 24 tackles, and 20 tackles again, 3 games in a row. That speaks volumes on the type of defender he is. But I'm very proud of him because he's also in charge of our defence, and when he speaks, most importantly, his actions speak more than anything else. So yeah, I can't speak enough of Dalton, the way he's developed as a seven this year, forced through injury obviously, but just, you know, different parts of his game, offloading, the tries that he set up today, and his link play. And the funny thing is, he's still very young, so he's got a long way to go. So his name is very particular to a question that was asked earlier, and I'll let you guys figure out.
Cheers, man.
So Dalton, obviously you changed your entire front row, but the scrum was a good attacking platform for you guys today. You must be happy with your forward pack as a whole.
Yeah, we are. Like at the beginning of the year, we talked about our set piece being one of the forefronts of our team. You know, playing off our set piece wins you games. So I think the coaches that have our lineouts, Philo and Machine that has our scrums, they're doing a bloody good job at it, and it just they're giving us the tools to succeed. So it makes our job easier. We just got to execute on what they say, and you saw today that we just dominated their scrum. So yeah.
Dawn, how much do you feel you've grown over this season, and how much have you learned from the coaches you've had in this environment?
Oh, I thought I've learned heaps. You know, hearing these coaches were named for this campaign, everyone was talking about how we're going to go forward, we're stepping forward, and I think they've done a bloody good job, to be honest. To see where we were at last year, everyone heads down, and we were about to get relegated to now where we are now. It's just goes to show that these guys are putting a massive effort in, and the good thing is that everyone in the team is following them. We're listening, and we want to learn off them, and the experienced coaches, you know. So, got to give a massive shout out to them. Yeah.
What about your game yourself? How much do you feel you've improved over the season?
Oh, heaps. I think I was a bit rough coming into first of all Blues, and then into this campaign. I felt like I've learned a lot off Philo, the forwards coach, but yeah, just around my game, you know, I knew the qualities of a 7, you know, tackling and stuff, but they were showing me, you know, different ways of how to get to rucks and stuff like that. So I think I've learned a massive thing of these coaches. Yeah.
Dalton and Alama mentioned a lot of talk about 7s in the last few days. Have you sort of thought about that at all?
Nah, not really. This campaign's my first priority, you know. I want to win for Auckland. This is my home, so this is going to be my first priority. Well, yeah.
How's your sternum/rib? You had a bit of a knock there. You're feeling a bit uncomfortable?
Nah, it's all good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's all good.
Alama, just on your hooker, Robbie Abel, who seems to just pop up in